Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, John Donovan.
Hey, Marty Keller.
Welcome to our Intentional Living podcast, where John and I discuss the intentional living process, the accountability tree, and this is all designed to help us take a look at patterns of behavior that we find ourselves engaging in, where our mind goes, "Don't do that. What are you doing? Stop!" And we go ahead and do it
Yeah,
anyway. That we
right.
uh, we feel seized by a compulsion to behave in ways that in our thinking mind we go, no, I don't want to do that. Or sometimes
Right.
it's the opposite. Sometimes we refuse to engage in behaviors that our mind says we should engage in. And
Right.
this is a common human dilemma, and it's a cause of a lot of unhappiness among human beings. It certainly was a cause of unhappiness for me until I got into the intentional living process. So we want to offer some information about how that could be different for each of us. And that's what the intentional living process is, something that my friend John started to develop 30 years ago. And we've learned a few things since then. So uh,
Yeah.
any uh, any comments from you, John, before we move on to our topic for the day?
The last one, what we resist persist was, we can probably say a lot more about that in the future. And if anybody has any questions or thoughts or needs clarity, please say something in the comments or shoot one of us an email, and we'll certainly answer whatever question you might have about that. I know that these concepts were difficult for me to embody. It took years of me focused recovery, and it's like that sage saying, "Teach what you want to learn." When I became a facilitator, I really started seeing my own patterns deeper in a way when they were reflected by my clients and the people, the men in jail. And I learned as I was teaching the nuances of all this stuff, and I came up with these sayings, like I said, to create curiosity and dialogue. When somebody's telling me an issue about their partner, and she does this, da 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 da, and what do I do? And I said, well, the issue that you're saying is the issue is really not the issue. They're like, wait, no, I just told you what it was. Well, I'm offering that there's someone underneath. So I would like to take you underneath and see what happens. We'll just see what happens. And they find that the issue is something in them that they don't even know is happening. That they're creating this atmosphere where this keeps happening over and over and over. They're participating. Oh, this issue. Oh, it's inside me. So okay, let's go in there. So that's one of the terms. What you resist persists. And then we're trained in our upbringing and societally, socially, that if you resist bad, you're a good person. And so we resist all these things we don't want and then find ourselves in these behaviors anyway. It's like, wait a minute. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's break this out and see what's really going on internally with me. And the next one is, I forgot. The next one
Well,
is,
what we're talking about is we're talking about what we call the accountability practice principles. I'm going to put them up on the screen so everybody can see them, John.
there
And
you go. Yeah.
so anybody who's coming in for the first time will just catch you up. So we have a series of these statements, as John said, or we call them principles. These are items that help us understand what's going on in recovery. And
Yeah.
fundamentally, what is recovery? Recovery is I've got these compulsions that that show up as certain behaviors that are actually destructive. They may keep me
Destructive.
from intimacy with loved ones or friends or even business colleagues. And in my mind, I say I don't want this, and yet I keep doing it over and over again. And one of the models that we use to think about this stuff is that there is a traumatized, wounded child in each of us. That's why the one of the 12-step programs that takes us on is called Adult Children of Alcoholics. If you're raised by someone who's an alcoholic or has an otherwise dysfunctional emotional state, him or herself, that gets transmitted to the child. The child is defenseless against whatever emotional environment that he or she comes into, and we just sort of absorb it. the
Yes.
first 4 or 5 years of our lives, we're not even conscious that we're beings. We're just unconsciously absorbing everything, and that gets into our psychology. It gets into our neural networks in our brains, and it
Yep.
becomes the foundation of our lives until something happens for us to be able to see that and begin to appreciate what's going on and make a different choice. And that's what intentional living has always been for me. Help me see the subconscious. John, you were the first person who ever taught me how. First of all, the uh, size of the subconscious mind. The subconscious
Yeah.
mind, in some models, is up to 99% of the entire mind is in the subconscious.
Yes.
And so, just think about that. For the extent that if most of my mind is subconscious, that means there's stuff happening of which my conscious mind completely is unaware, and that's
Yeah.
where those
And
compulsions show up.
we're built that way as human beings. We're not
Exactly.
just because we're in recovery we have this problem. No, as human beings we
Yes.
remember everything, so that if something happens in the future that resonates with the discomfort or the danger, we can easily move to reaction, get out of the way, move toward comfort, be proactive. And this gets stuck. This survival mechanism gets stuck in, instead of the saber-toothed tiger being the threat to my life, burnt toast now is a threat that I'm
Right.
reacting as if something happened tragic, and so there's something internal that unresolved complex post-traumatic stress, an event that happened to where I see somebody messing with the food or the food got messed up, that's a life or death situation. Burnt toast. I take it personal, and go into reactive mode.
Well, it can be something as subtle as an eyebrow lifted,
Yes.
that we get a
Yeah.
reaction that is
Yeah.
completely out
Yeah.
of sync or out of proportion with what's actually going on in the moment.
And that's the key. If I'm in my life and I'm responding in a way that's commiserate with the event that's going on, say I'm in a high stress situation of five, and I'm being proactive and moving towards resolution. It's when I am in a five and I go to eight, nine, 10, and I'm not in the situation anymore. I'm in an old belief system, and I lost everything. I lost myself. I lost the situation. I lost the other person, because I'm in a survival response, and that's what survival is for. Only now our life is so complicated. Before saber-tooth tigers, whatever the other predators were, that's what we had to be afraid of. Now it's got stuck in the subconscious that I needed to survive. I needed to comply to my parents' demands, which dismissed me. So I learned that dismissing myself is a survival technique. So one of the ways that manifested for me is I would say, I don't like conflict. I will do anything to avoid conflict, which means what? Compromise myself. Or just shut it down by say, I'm going to punch you in the face. You say that again. It's like, I want it over. I want it done now, instead of seeing the conflict as a place for expansion and growth and learning about the other person and connection,
And
which now
ourselves.
conflict is for me. Yes.
Right. So we have developed a series of principles. You can see on the screen, they're not numbered because none of them is more important than any other. And once we go through all of these, and we're basically doing one principle per podcast,
Yeah.
um, once we go through them all, you'll be able to see how they all interlink with one another. Last week, we took on what I resist persists. And as John said at the top of this podcast, that's there's like some of these things. I'm like the first one. I'm always getting what I want. Some of these things are very sophisticated and nuanced insights that take a little bit of
Yes.
time to appreciate, much less to figure out how to incorporate into our recovery process.
Right.
And they're valid, and
Yeah.
and we're here to just offer them for consideration. So we're moving on to the next one, which is hurt people.
Yes.
And what comes to your mind when we say hurt people, John?
Well, working in jails for as long as I did, and prisons, because I worked in Folsom Prison for 5 years before I went to the county jail. Um, Working with the men inside and the women, they're replaying their family of origin dysfunction. They're replaying the trauma that happened to them, the unresolved trauma, in their adult lives. Um, it's like I've spent my whole life thinking I will not be like my father. He was mean, loud, brutal, hands-on kind of guy. So I said I'll never be like him. So I actually hated my father. And what happened in my childhood was traumatizing, hurtful, and I wasn't able to resolve that. So that hurt stayed stuffed in me. So that when I grew up, I said I would never be like my dad. And then one of my own children would do something like I did, and I would find myself talking just like my dad. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, oh my God. And then screaming, I would be saying something to one of my children, screaming at them, and I would be screaming inside my head, what are you doing? It's not that big a deal. Stop. And I couldn't stop. It just kept coming out and coming out and coming out. So it takes away, I don't want to take away the judgment completely. We need to judge that. We need to notice that that's harmful or hurtful and take precautionary measures to keep people like that out of our society. What I am saying is, um, well, in my own instance, I created damage because I was damaged. I remember realizing um, people would say to me, I would say something arrogant or controlling or mean to them. And they say, John, that hurts. And I go, what are you talking about? You asked me to comment on this thing, and I commented on it, and you're all hurt. Until in my recovery process, I was actually able to feel the hurt from the past. Like my dad standing in front of me with his finger in my nose, you're the shame of the family. That hurt. That was demeaning and diminishing. I, and I felt that, and I go, oh, that's what they're talking about. I had no idea. Did it hurt? It was like now I understood. This is painful. This oh my God. And when I could feel that hurt from that past thing, and I was, I think, 14 at the time, it relieved. I just recognized the pain. And that's part of healing that nobody told me about that I stumbled onto is saying the truth about what happened and then feeling the impact of that. As an adult, it's like, no, when I was a kid, I was terrified. Oh, I'm terrified. And that hurt. That was not okay. And it relieved. It released. And as it was releasing, I felt the impact of that. And in that recognition, I go, oh, shoot, I don't want to do this to other people. That's what I'm doing to other people. That's it. Oh, I see. So I wish I could say I quit at that moment, but I can't. Um, what I started doing was recognizing what I was doing, and the the amount of times I found myself in destructive behavior started becoming infrequent, based on being accountable. When I would say something to my children that was hurtful, and this is in retrospect, I didn't say it to them when they were children. That was mean. I'm mean, and I take it to the accountability tree, that process we have of healing, to say the truth about my behavior, and then I could feel the impact of it. Oh, I'm mean to my kids. Yeah, I was. Okay, I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing father, and I found myself acting differently after feeling the hurt, after actually in my body hurt. And that's what the accountability tree, that truth, I mean, when it's true, blame free, judgment free. And the way we get to blame free, judgment free is say the truth, because and there's two things that are said about the truth. Number one, it hurts. Number two, it sets you free. So if you're willing to risk the truth, which is I'm mean to my kids, I could feel the impact of that behavior, and then realize I don't want to pass this on. Until I could feel the hurt, I hurt people a lot. I was very destructive, very, very arrogant, demanding, and demeaning, and diminishing. Sometimes I thinking I'm funny or thinking I'm helping the person. No, that's destructive. And I was able. I didn't. I created the intention to be a loving, caring, nurturing father. I didn't know how. I knew how to hurt. And that intention went back into the subconscious, resolved whatever trauma. So that was now in my perception, different, healed, relieved. I felt the impact of my father's behavior. I don't want to do that. I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing father. And that same mechanism that created the behavior of hurting people for me, sounds weird, hurting people, hurt people, hurt people. Well, if the people that said they love me the most hurt me the most, which is my parents, then me doing the same behavior to keep people away is reasonable. It's painful, it's destructive, it's impactful. It is all those things. It's not out of alignment with unresolved pain. So when I felt the pain, relieved the pain, I was open for other options. I was open to, instead of yelling it, okay, take a breath, women. Okay, excuse me, I need to talk to you about this. Would you be willing? And then my children were adults after when I got all this. And my behavior simply shifted based on the practice of relieving the unresolved trauma, complex post-traumatic stress. So,
Well, it seems to me, based on what you're saying, that we could consider that the principle hurt people is a shorthand version of saying something much more comprehensive, which is that I treat myself and others the way my parents treated me. So if they hurt me, I learned that hurting is love because my parents
yeah,
loved me. So I hurt you.
yeah,
And but it could also be my parents neglected me, so I neglect you.
yeah, yeah,
So so this hurt people is a stand-in for a complex or for a series of behaviors that we learned in our childhood, in our family, what we call our family of origin, that
yeah,
we're going to repeat in our adulthood if nothing intervenes to teach us or offer us a different way.
yeah, yeah. And we repeat the same phrase. I was in Kaiser one day, and this was well into my recovery, and there was a gentleman in the recovery room, and he had a surgery, and his partner came to visit him, and he would say things to her like, he would ask her to plug in something for whatever was going on so he could listen to the radio or something, and she couldn't find the plug, and I heard him say, "You got to be smarter than the outlet." And I thought, oh my God, that's a pattern. Somebody said that to him
Right.
when he was trying to do something. He didn't know how to do it. Like kids don't know how to do stuff. They don't know an outlet from the hole in the ground. They plug it in the outlet. Oh, what's an outlet? And then you call them. I was called dumb or stupid or how come you don't know? Expected to know all this stuff or act like an adult, and then when you couldn't or because well, I'm 5 for peace sakes, and then you say, well, you dumb little shit. How come you internalize that and then it comes out. I used to call it spitting poison on the people around me, saying things like that, like you got to be smarter than the plug. That's demeaning, diminishing, and yet I could say, well, I'm just trying to teach you. well, that's how I got taught, and it was harmful. It was fracturing. Only I'm not aware of it, so I just continued the pattern, thinking I'm helping. And that was a big thing of mine. I, I would say things like, "Well, I'm just telling you the truth. It's going to help you." Like you're a dumbass. And wait, the truth without compassion is cruelty.
So I
So
want to, oh, go
I,
ahead.
I learned to say the truth with compassion or not. Sometimes it's just none of my business. Okay, go ahead.
Right. Well, one thing that I discovered in our work together in group is that sometimes I would find myself hurting other people and enjoying it.
Yes. Oh my God.
And that was a very hard truth to face, but it was also liberating because it was true.
It was true.
I would sometimes stick something to you or gossip about you or whatever, and I would find that there was a secret little energy
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Gotcha. And laugh. Yeah.
And I think that that's something we ought to talk about because again, healing comes from owning the truth. And there's, I don't know, is that because I had a sense that my parents were enjoying hurting me? Where does that pleasure at hurting other people derive from in the
Here's
recovery work?
here's how I framed it. I was so estranged from my body that I couldn't feel anything. So to feel something, it had to be extreme.
Okay.
And and um, the the pleasure from being vindictive or vengeful, because it was misplaced. Instead of being angry at my parents, like, how dare you? How dare you treat me that way? How dare you say those things to me? I was a child, I didn't know, and you brutalized me. Instead of um, saying that and being able to feel my own um, either rejection or they rejected me or feeling the pain of the dismissal, I couldn't feel anything. So when that vengeance and I got somebody back, I was using them to get back at my parents, and it actually felt good. It and it's like, oh my God, I'm cruel. I'm sadistic. I'm bad. I must be terrible. Yes and no. Um, See, to own that, I think was one of the hardest things I had to own. My cruelty towards my children specifically, and I was cruel to everybody, but specifically my children. And then taking pleasure in it, it's like, what the heck? Oh, that's the only way I could feel anything alive. And it was always short lived. So, whether that makes sense or not, it's it's in alignment with the degree of trauma, unresolved trauma. And it hurts. It hurts. It impacts. It impacts. It's destructive. It impacts in a destructive way. Yes. Okay.
I wonder
So
also.
whatever. Go ahead.
So I wonder also if there isn't some degree of misplaced. Uh, I so a traumatized child might have it in his or her mind that if I get one over on you, I'm better. It's kind of a false building up of a mask or a belief about ourselves because the truth is something we can't handle.
Yeah.
To quote Jack Nicholson, and again in this recovery process, because the shade of the tree we call this accountability tree is no blame, no judgment.
Right.
I can only tell these uncomfortable truths about myself if I can do so without making myself bad for having these character defects or characteristics. I don't like the word defect. Um, so that I can say, yes, I took pleasure in being cruel. No blame or
Yeah.
judgment. And then
And there's a strange,
I can
yeah,
feel shame or whatever it is by owning that truth. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
I feel something and I can complete the accountability tree by saying, okay, so what do I want now instead?
yeah, yeah.
So this
And
again, these uncomfortable truths, we talked about that in the we what we resist persist podcast, can become
mhm,
a gift rather than a shameful thing to be hidden away.
correct. In the context of blame-free, judgment-free,
Right.
yes. And what I've also found facilitating along that, when somebody gets to a truth that's very difficult to say and owns it, you know what? You know what my kids knew about me? That I was cruel, and I seemed to enjoy it. They already knew that.
Yep.
And then when I said it, it validated them. It's like, yes, oh my God, Dad, yes, that hurt so bad. Wow. Okay, okay, hurt people hurt people. I intend to heal. I intend to hurt any hurt that's inside that's unresolved, that's out of my purview in my subconscious. And I know how to get to it is by going to this thing we call the accountability tree, um, and getting it out. Because if I don't get that out, it'll come out sideways. And one of the
Yep.
ways I've said it before, is I spit poison on people,
Yep.
and I refuse to do that. I'm going in. I'm going in for whatever's left in there and owning it. When I just inkling it, oh, I just had this urge. No, okay, that's my control. That's my me. I still got some meanness in me. Nice deep breath. Yeah, yeah. I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing spouse, father, and participant in my community. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so what also occurs to me is to remind everybody that we do this work in group.
Yeah,
And so when I own this, what is into my judgmental mind, the shameful behavior, and I'm courageous enough to say it out loud, not only do I get relief from that, but generally speaking, heads will nod in the group
yes.
because it's just not me.
No,
I'm not the
no.
only one that takes pleasure in being cruel.
Yeah.
And the
And we're sharing our stories and owning both of us have this
right,
quality that's a direct result of unresolved
right.
trauma. Yes.
So
Yeah.
the willingness to share shameful secrets in group helps everybody in the group heal
Yep.
because it I mean at the very basic level it lets us know we're not alone, that we're
Yeah.
not the only one.
Yeah.
And also then people get to witness what healing looks like because then we do that process and people
Exactly. Yeah.
can feel that as well.
Yes. And the goal in all of these discussions and classes is to reconnect to our emotional feeling body, which most of the time doesn't have a lot of words. We need a word to like get started, like I'm sad. Okay, I'm gonna go, and that there's a constellation of feeling in that. What I'm identifying as sadness is like could be mixed with some anger or some passion. We don't know.
Yeah.
Happy,
Yeah. And
feeling
ultimately
alive.
what
My definition of happy is my experience of being alive. I felt alive a lot at saying the truth in that accountability tree, saying I'm mean. I actually started feeling happy, alive in the moment,
yeah.
engaging proactively, being of service, however you healing, um, healing in public, healing
Hmm.
in view, and either witnessing somebody witnessing my healing or I witnessing somebody else's healing. It's just that's alive,
Exactly.
happy. Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time together. So, any last minute thoughts before we wrap up about
I'm glad
hurt people,
we're
hurt
doing
people?
these. Yeah. Well, come to a meeting. Um, come to me and we'll talk more. We'll talk about this some more. If you're hearing this for the first time, even if you're hearing it for the 15th time, it takes a while to like embody a new perception of what we're doing.
Right.
And that's what these principles are for, is to engage in a dialogue that's different than normal every day.
Well, and you just touched on a point that we haven't really made explicit, which is that they're these things are spoken of in sentences, but they're really embodiments, as you
Yep.
implied there, and that is
Yep.
something that takes a practice. We're not thinking our way to recovery. That's
No.
we're gonna feel our way to recovery, and these principles actually help guide us there. But as you
Yeah.
said, it's most valuable to see it in action in a group. So if you'd like to uh, attend an intentional living practice group, we have 4 meetings a week. They're all on Zoom, and the times and dates, days, and Zoom addresses will be at the end of the podcast. So please feel free to check them out. And we'd love to have you. You can come and ask questions, or you can come and just listen. Uh, we don't we don't require any particular thing of anybody who comes to a meeting. It's all on however you want to participate. So with that, John, as always, I thank you for your time and for your wisdom, and look forward to the next one. We're not done with the principles, my friends. So there's more to come.
Yeah. Yeah. We might even add another one in there, a couple more in the meantime. We don't know.
Why not? Why not?
There you go.
Okay. See you next week.
You got it. Thank you.
Take care.